Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, the UN warns it will take nearly 3 centuries to close the gender gap completely, with the pandemic, climate change and a backlash against abortion rights resulting in the rollback of women's rights globally. I'll be talking to UN Women's Research and Data Specialist Ginette Azcona. Also, the trial begins of Guinea's former military ruler, Moussa Dadis Camara, and a group of men accused of responsibility in the killing of 150 people and mass rape by the country's security forces. And an exhibition here in Paris celebrates the work of the iconic Mexican feminist and artist Frida Kahlo. But first, in grim statistics from a UN Women's Global Report on the status of women shows it will now take close to 300 years to achieve full gender equality at the current rate of progress. Global challenges such as the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, climate change and the backlash against women's reproductive rights have further exacerbated gender disparities. Let's cross now to New York to speak to Ginette Azcona, the report's lead author. Ginette, thanks for being with us. You've worked in this field for some time, I know, but when the research revealed that it's going to take up to 286 years to reach global parity, surely that figure must have shocked you.
You know, the figure was shocking, depressing and shocking, I would say, but at the same time, not surprising. We know that laws and legal frameworks take time to change. And that number that you quoted is based on our projections of how long it will take to reform constitutions, to enact laws that protect women against domestic violence, that remove discriminatory laws that affect women's equal rights to inherit and to confer citizenship to their husbands and children, et cetera. And so these kinds of things do take time to change and to be reformed. But it is depressing nonetheless, and something that we want to see accelerated. We want to see this progress really change, not in 3 centuries, not in many, many generations, but hopefully much sooner than that.
Ginette, just take us through some of the report's major findings.
Yeah, in terms of the major findings, this report actually looks at all of the global goals from a gender perspective, so all 17. So there are a number of findings spanning from, where we are in terms of eradicating poverty. The report, unfortunately, tells really an alarming story of where we are and some of the key kind of goals, including the one to eradicate extreme poverty by 2030. Unfortunately, a similar situation when it comes to eradicating hunger globally. About a third of women globally are facing food insecurity. That number is projected to, and the reality is that this is projected to increase in subsequent years because of many of the other crises we're seeing around the world due to climate, conflict, et cetera. The gender gap in food insecurity is also increasing and not decreasing, unfortunately. So some of the key findings of the report. We've also, from the research that we've conducted and that others have conducted, have demonstrated, unfortunately, that the COVID-19 pandemic and its fallout continues to impact women's employment. Labor force participation of women globally is actually still not fully recovered from the fallout of the pandemic.
This report highlighting that the UN's Sustainable Development Goal of reaching gender equality by 2030, which is just 8 years away, I mean, that's far from being achieved, isn't it?
Unfortunately, that is exactly the case. The reality is that we are not on track to achieve gender equality by 2030. Globally, about 1 in 7 countries is very far from the target, and that's just not good enough. We really need to see greater efforts to prioritize gender equality across countries, rich and poor alike.
So what swift actions need to be taken now by governments.
It requires a comprehensive package of interventions and of investments, supporting women through social protection, through increased spending in family planning, through increased investments in education, and really doing that as a kind of holistic package that hopefully will bring about the kind of change that we're looking to see over the next couple of years. Again, it really requires sustained efforts and political will. The other thing that I think we've learned from folks working in this area, from gender advocates, from young people, is that we really need to work together on this, right? That it's, kind of governments, civil society, the private sector, companies, we all have a role to play. And it's building alliances and coalitions that's going to make a real difference.
Ginette, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Annette.
And India's Supreme Court has ruled a woman's lack of marital status cannot deny her the choice to abort a pregnancy at any time up to 24 weeks. Women's rights activists describing the decision as a milestone for women. The court's ruling was in response to a petition by a woman who said her pregnancy resulted from a consensual relationship, but she had sought abortion when it failed. To Africa now, and it's seen as one of the darkest episodes in Guinea's history. The trial has begun of the country's former president, Moussa Dadis Camara, along with a group of others, accused of killing more than 150 people and also the rape of more than 100 women. Scores were killed and women and girls were raped at a protest against military rule in September 2009. Our team on the ground sent us this report.
Saran often meets other victims of the 28th September massacre in this centre. She was gang raped by a group of soldiers during a bloody demonstration 13 years ago. The opening of a trial has brought her great relief.
I have decided not to cry, but inside I am broken. He has destroyed me. But I'm still here, and I'm still testifying.
On the eve of the first hearing, this Victims Association is busier than ever before. Dozens of people have come forward with new testimonies since the trial date was announced.
This is a secretariat. It's where we register the victims.
For association members, the path to justice has opened.
We want the truth. We want reparations. We want national recognition for all the victims of the September 28th massacre. We hope that there will be clear and transparent justice, that it's not a sham. We want all those accused of crimes to be present.
There are 11 defendants in this case. Among them is Moussa Dadis Camara, head of the junta at the time of the massacre.
He is eager to stand before the magistrates in charge of this case to deliver his testimony and uphold his honor and integrity, which have been soiled over the past 13 years by false accusations that are not grounded in any objective reality.
The Ghanaian authorities insist that the conditions are ready for this historic trial to finally take place.
And finally, she's one of the most recognisable artists of all time and a feminist icon. Of course, I'm talking about Frida Kahlo, who's the subject of a new exhibition here in Paris that displays everything from her paintings and letters through to her clothing and even medical corsets. Inka Oyateda reports.
Frida Kahlo poured every bit of herself into her paintings. The Mexican artist's work was a reflection of her feelings, doubts, and politics. Proud of her mixed European and Oaxacan heritage, she often wore colourful dresses from her mother's Tijuana culture, a matriarchal society in which women managed the money.
It's not a costume, it's a declaration of politics and identity. I am a woman, I am free, I am Mexican.
Another key part of her identity was her physical and mental suffering, which are strongly interconnected in her paintings. The near-fatal injuries she sustained after being in an accident at 18 featured heavily in her work. Kahlo's complicated relationship with her body helped her paint what were taboo subjects at the time, like sex, abortion, and miscarriages. In keeping with her nonconformist views, the Mexican artist did not hide her monobrow or moustache in her work, wanting to free herself from society's ideals of a perfect woman.
She was also dealing with non-binary gender fluidity in the 20s already, and you see how she blends aspects of her, how comfortable she feels with her male features and her female features. She accentuates the red lipstick, at the same time she accentuates her mustache. So the work is very ahead of the time.
From her mixed ethnicity to her fluid gender, the exhibition at Paris's Palais Galliera is a deep dive into the identity of an artist who proudly declared that she was her own muse.
And that's all for now. You can keep up with the 51% on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Plus, you can catch our previous programs on the France 24 website. So until our next show, bye for now.